Nora Velasquez stared at her phone, thumbs shaking as she typed the message she swore she wouldn't send again. Leo, I hate to ask, but I need $40 for Nova's formula. I get paid Friday. I'll pay you back. She hit send before she could lose her nerve, then sagged into the sagging sofa, the baby monitor whispering with the soft wafts of her 6-month-old daughter's breath. Her checking account read $2.13. No formula. She'd already watered the last bottle more than she should have. Pride was a luxury hunger, never respected. 4 miles away, in the mirrored area of Peregrine Systems, 43-year-old CEO Cassian Wolf glanced at his buzzing phone, expecting another knife-edged update about the acquisition he'd been wrestling for months. Instead, a text glowed on his rarely used personal number. Raw, pleading, and clearly not meant for him. I think you have the wrong number. I'm not Leo. Nora felt her stomach drop. She checked and groaned. The last digit of her brother's new number, off by 1. I'm so sorry. Wrong number. Please ignore. He should have. Cassian almost did. But the word formula snagged on something tender and unhealed inside him. Is your baby going to be okay? Caution flared in Nora's tired brain. Predators wore politeness like cologne. We'll manage. Sorry to bother you. I could help. No strings attached. There were always strings. Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers. Smart policy, he replied. I'm Cassian. Now I'm not a stranger. What formula? Nora stared at that name. Cassian? It sounded like power, or trouble. Why would you help someone you don't know? He watched the city grid from his window, jaw tight. Let's just say, I've been fortunate. And I remember when I wasn't. Exhaustion blurred Nora's good judgment. Nova could only keep down Gentleness. Colic had turned every other brand into a scream machine. And Gentleness was stupid expensive. I don't feel right about this. What's your Venmo? Against every instinct, Nora sent it. The phone chirped. She blinked, then gasped. Not $40. $400. This is too much. I can't accept. Consider it an advance for the next few months. One less thing to worry about. Tears snapped loose. Not when she'd been laid off from the hotel accounting team. Not when Leo moved across the country for a job she told him to take. Not when the landlord slid that pale envelope under her door. But this kindness from a stranger cracked something open. Thank you. Take care of Nova, Nora, he wrote. Hours later, returning from the store with formula and groceries, Nora froze. She'd never told him her daughter's name. At dawn, her phone pinged. Hope you and Nova slept better. I have a proposition. Here it comes. The strings. What kind of proposition? Professional. I run Peregrine Systems. We need accounting help on a short-term project. Your brother Leo mentioned you were looking. Nora's heart lurched. How do you know my brother? How do you know I'm an accountant? Sorry for the intrusion, Cassian wrote. After your message, I was curious. Your number is 1 digit off Leo Cruz. He works in our HR org. When I mentioned the wrong number text, he realized who you must be. He speaks highly of you. Relief and suspicion wrestled in Nora's chest. Coincidence? Maybe. Need is louder than doubt. What's the project? 3-month contract. Merger reconciliation. Possibility of permanent. On-site childcare. Flexible hours. As Nora measured formula into a clean bottle, the timing still felt too good to be true. But rent clocks didn't stop. Okay. I'll hear more. Peregrine's tower knifed the clouds, all glass and confidence. A security guard greeted her by name before she'd spoken. Ms. Velasquez? Mr. Wolf is expecting you. Top floor. Sloan will meet you. Sloan Park, mid-50s, immaculate. Guided her not to HR, not to a conference room, but directly into a corner suite, with a view that made Nora forget the price of formula for 3 heartbeats. Family photos. A battered guitar in the corner. Not the lair she expected. She looks peaceful, a low voice said. Nora turned. Cassian Wolf was taller than his photos, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes that had seen too much and refused to look away. Mr. Wolf. Cassian, he corrected gently. Thank you for coming on short notice. They both knew this was strange. I don't make a habit of taking money from wrong numbers, Nora said, finding her spine, and I don't make a habit of sending it, he answered. He inhaled. Yesterday was the anniversary of my daughter's death. The room tilted. I'm sorry. She would have been 9. His eyes flicked to Nova, sleeping in her carrier. Leukemia. Suspicion loosened its grip. The job, then. He handed her a folder, day rate that made her blink. Full benefits for 3 months, discreet scope. It's generous for temp work, she said. We pay for quality, he replied. Leo forwarded your resume. Georgetown, top of class. Hotel group audit controls, hard focus. Why didn't you just tell me who you were in the texts? Would you have believed, hi, I'm a CEO, let me help? He half smiled. Also, unorthodox. The board would have questions. Nova twitch whimpered. Kitchenette through there, Cassian said, already on his feet, opening a door. Privacy. As Nora warmed the bottle, her mind raced. The company was real. She'd Googled. Everything on the train. The role was real. The childcare offer? Unheard of. When she returned, Cassian's voice was low on a call. We're not selling that division. Because I gave them my word. He ended the call when he saw her. Sorry. Mergers are human migraines. He watched as she fed Nova with practiced ease. You're good with her. Had to be, Nora said softly. Her father left when I showed him the sonogram. His loss, Cassian said like a verdict. They talked hours and responsibilities, access and deliverables. One more thing, he added. Daycare has a wait list. Until there's a slot, work from my private suite. You can use the small conference room. Nova's welcome. That's unusually accommodating. And necessary, he said. A beat. The work is sensitive. Sloane reappeared. You're 10:30. Cassian stood, extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Nora squeezed back. Yes. Thank you. And Nora. He paused in the doorway. The $400 is a gift, not an advance. 3 weeks later, Nora and Nova had a rhythm. Elevator. Sloane's smile. A portable crib in the side room that appeared on day 2. Numbers bloomed across dual monitors. The puzzle clicked under Nora's fingers. The discrepancies were spider silk thin and everywhere. Pennies shaved, cents diverted, then laundered through rounding entries and timing mistakes. Individually, nothing. Together, a heist. These numbers don't add up, she murmured. Nova squeaked at her playmat. A soft knock. Cassian leaned in, tie loosened, eyes shadowed. Progress? He crouched to greet Nova, who squealed and windmilled hands. The baby had decided he was furniture she liked to climb. Some, Nora said. But there's a problem in the Thornwell acquisition accounts. She showed him the pattern. His face went stony. How much? About $3 million over 18 months. You're sure? Isn't that why you hired me? Something like guilt flashed, and was gone. Prepare a full report. Don't share yet. Not even Leo, not even your CFO, especially not Quentin, he said, jaw tight. After he left, fear lapped at Nora's ankles. Why hide embezzlement from your CFO? Unless, Ms. Velasquez. A smooth voice oiled from the doorway. Quentin Hale, CFO, tall, impeccable, smile that never reached his pupils. Nora reflexively minimized a spreadsheet. Can I help you? She asked. I hear you're doing a special project for Cassian. His glance slid to the crib, to Nova's solemn stare. Convenient arrangement, private office, child at work. Mr. Wolf must think very highly of your skill set. Heat lit Nora's cheeks. He values results, she said evenly. And I found several issues that needed attention. I'm sure you have. He stepped closer. Remember, Miss Velasquez, Peregrine was fine before you. It'll be fine after. When he left, her hands trembled. The insinuation, the threat. Her phone vibrated. This is Detective Mina Cho, Financial Crimes. We're looking into irregularities at Peregrine. We'd like to ask you a few questions this afternoon. By the time Cassian returned from an emergency board review, Nora was near panic. Financial Crimes called me, and Quentin was here, fishing. Cassian blanched. He's moving faster than I thought. He locked the door, voice low. I need you to trust me. I haven't been completely honest. About what? Her stomach turned to ice. Am I being set up? The opposite. He pulled a thick file from a hidden drawer. I've been investigating internal theft for months. We needed someone outside the exec circle, someone clean. Your wrong number text was real. But when I realized you were Leo's sister, the one he'd bragged about, I saw an opening. You targeted me, Nora whispered, fury and hurt colliding. You used my situation. I gave a brilliant accountant a real job she's crushing, he said, steady. Yes, I had ulterior motives, ethical ones. I'm working with the FBI. Quentin isn't just stealing, he's laundering. Before she could answer, Sloane burst in. Composure shattered. They're here, board security and police. They have a warrant. They're saying you've been embezzling, Cassian, and they named Ms. Velasquez as an accomplice. Nora grabbed Nova, panic detonating. No. Cassian's face hardened. Sloane, private elevator. Safe house protocol. He turned to Nora, hands on her shoulders. If you stay, they'll separate you from Nova. Please, go. What about you? I'll hold the line, he said. I have allies. I'll contact you. And the way you feel about helping me? Nora blurted, anger betraying itself as something softer. Is that real or just strategy? His eyes flicked to Nova, then back. That's the realest thing in this building. Sloane hustled them through a hidden door behind a bookcase into a silent elevator that smelled faintly of cedar. The safe house was a modest, secure apartment across town, stocked somehow. With formula, diapers, a portable crib, and a folder of emergency numbers. You seem prepared, Nora said, watching Sloane move like a woman who had run this drill before. When the first anomalies hit 6 months ago, Cassian started building lifeboats, Sloane said. He went to the authorities. The case got smothered, so he gathered proof. And I found the proof, Nora said hollowly. You did? Sloane handed her tea. And now, we finish it. Near midnight, an unknown number flashed. Are you safe? It's me. They took my devices, but released me. Quentin's framing us. My FBI contact will meet us at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We need your report. Us? Nora stared at sleeping Nova. She could run. She could vanish. But if she did, Quentin Hale, slick, smiling, would keep bleeding the company and anyone in his way. Cassian had lied by omission. He had also risked everything to protect her and Nova. Both things were true. I'll be there. Agent Priya Narang's gaze was surgical as Nora walked through her findings. The next morning in a bland federal office, smelling of toner and old coffee. This is clean work, Narang said finally. Clear pattern, clear trail. We'll stage the board meeting. We need Quentin to lie in front of us. As they prepped, Cassian pulled Nora aside. If this goes sideways, Sloane has instructions to get you and Nova out of the country. There's an account in your name. You won't like it, but it won't come to that, Nora said, voice steadier than her pulse. Just in case, he insisted, slipping a small envelope into her hand. And, Nora, thank you. At 3 p.m., the boardroom cameras fed to a monitor in the next room. Quentin performed concern like Broadway. It pains me to present this, he told the directors, distributing glossy binders, but the evidence shows Alexander, excuse me, Cassian Wolf, with assistance from an outside contractor, Nora Velasquez, diverted funds to offshore accounts. Nora's name in his mouth felt like acid. On screen, Cassian looked bored. Serious accusation, Quentin. Proof? The proof is in your hands. Then let's add mine, Cassian said mildly, nodding. Agent Narang opened the door. Nora walked in with 2 agents, heart thundering. Quentin's face flickered, shock, then calculation. How convenient, he said silkily. Here to defend your benefactor? I'm here to show how you've been stealing for 18 months, Nora said, and began. For 30 minutes, she dismantled his fiction. The micro-diversions, the shadow shells, the timing entries synced to quarterly close noise, The beneficial ownerships traced through layered LLCs to a single ugly truth: Quentin Hale. The room turned to ice. Quentin's eyes flicked to the exit. "Don't," Narang said without turning. "We've secured the building." What happened next blurred. A lunge, metal glinting, Cassian stepping between them. Agents shouting. Quentin slammed to the ground, the metallic things skittering away. Blood bloomed on Cassian's shirt. "Cassian!" Nora cried. "It's a scratch," he gritted. Which was technically true, and practically a lie. Terrible for this shirt, though. 3 hours later, Quentin and 2 bored cronies were in custody. Statements taken. Bandage secured. Nova arrived with Sloane, clutching a new stuffed narwhal Sloane found in a closet that looked suspiciously like it had been waiting for exactly this moment. "What now?" Nora asked, the adrenaline ebb leaving her shaky. "Professionally, rebuild," Cassian said. "The merger might pause, but we'll live. Personally." His eyes met hers, unflinching. "That depends on you. Your contract has 2 months left, but I want you permanently, head of internal audit, reporting directly to the board for independence." "That's huge. You earned it. You saw what veterans missed or ignored, and daycare called. Nova has a spot, though she's welcome in my office any time." Nora swallowed. "Cassian, how we started was messy," he said. "I'm sorry for the manipulation. Everything after, watching you work, watching you mother, has been the first honest thing I've felt since I lost my daughter." Nora's chest fluttered in a dangerous, wonderful way. "I need time," she said. "To think, to breathe." "All the time you want," he said, and meant it. 6 months later, Peregrine's holiday party glittered under warm lights. Internal audit, her team, won applause for new guardrails that made would-be thieves cry into spreadsheets. Nova, now a wobbly comet, pinballed between Nora and Cassian, who had long since become more than the boss. He squeezed her hand. "Ready for the announcement?" Nora nodded, the engagement ring winking under chandeliers. They'd taken the slow road. Therapy, boundaries, transparency with the board, trust on purpose. When Cassian shared their news, the cheers rolled like surf. That night, in a new home that didn't creak with worry, Nora kissed Nova's forehead and whispered the truth that still amazed her. "Sometimes the mistakes we think will break us are just maps to where we're meant to go." Leo didn't text congratulations. When the engagement news quietly circulated through Peregrine, he called and skipped hello. "You're really doing this with Wolf?" Nora braced the phone between shoulder and ear, while zipping Nova into a fleece sleeper. "I'm doing my job, Leo. And yes, I'm also with him. He's my boss. He was your boss when he fronted me $400 for formula and set up childcare. He was your boss when he put himself between me and a CFO with a weapon." She lowered her voice. "You vouched for my skills. You knew I'd slay this job. Don't turn protective now that it's messy." Silence, then a sigh. "I'm not judging you. I'm scared for you." He paused. "There's chatter in HR. Somebody's leaking that you only got the job because you're sleeping with him. And before that, they leaked." "I was a thief," Nora said flatly. "When facts don't work, they try rumors." Leo hesitated. "You want me to shut anything down?" "Just keep your head down, and your receipts up," she said. "I'll handle the rest." The smear arrived 2 days later. A burner account posted grainy photos. Nora entering. Cassian's private suite with Nova in her arms. Captions that dripped insinuation. The post included a redacted payroll ledger, with her day rate circled in screaming red. "Gold digger math," the caption jeered. Cassian forwarded it with a single line, "We go first." Within an hour, a calm, unflinching internal message hit every inbox at Peregrine under both their names. It detailed the original wrong number text, the emergency childcare arrangement, the board, approved compensation, and the exact governance guardrails around internal audit. It ended with a sentence that sounded like Nora and felt like a challenge. "Transparency is not a threat if you're telling the truth." Sloane appeared at Nora's office door with 2 mugs and a half smile. "CFOs hate sunlight." "They're not the only ones," Nora said, nodding at a fresh email blinking on her screen. The subject line read, "Your baby for your files." Her stomach turned cold. The body of the message was short, walk away from the audit expansion. Or accidents happen. A photo was attached. Nova in the Peregrine lobby yesterday morning, reaching for the aquarium wall while Sloane laughed behind her. Taken from a high angle, not paparazzi. Inside. Nora's first instinct was to lunge for her child. Her second was to fight the person who wanted her to panic. She forwarded the message to Cassian and Agent Narang with the header, Internal Actor. Access to lobby cams or vantage point, 17 dillions. Cassian's reply was immediate. Already locking down cams, cross-referencing access logs. Come to my suite now. Bring Nova. By the time she arrived, security had ringed the top floor. Sloane closed the door behind them and leaned against it. We pulled the camera angles. That photo wasn't from our system. Then how? Nora began. Cassian slid a tablet across the desk. Third-party maintenance contractor. Quentin outsourced our lobby cam's firmware patching last quarter. The vendor's shell traces back to the same network we mapped in your report. Agent Narang joined via secure video, expression, granite. Good news, the threat gives us jurisdiction to expand the case. Bad news, whoever sent it knows your patterns, change them. Today, we'll move, Cassian said. His voice had the ring of command Nora had heard in boardrooms and hallways. But something else threaded under it now, something feral. He glanced at Sloane. Package Sparrow. Sloane nodded and opened a cabinet Nora had assumed held paper. It contained 2 slim go bags, a child carrier, and what looked like an innocuous white noise machine. Sloane flicked it on. It hummed and swallowed the room's edges. You've done this before, Nora said, watching Cassian strap the carrier with hands that didn't shake. Sloane met her eyes. I was Charlotte's oncology nurse. After she died, I promised Cassian I'd stay. He doesn't make promises lightly. Neither do I. Nora felt the wordless click of a puzzle piece she hadn't known was missing. It explained Sloane's fierce competence. It explained why Cassian never spoke about courage like it was theory. They didn't go home that night. They went to a different safe apartment that did not appear on any of Cassian's paperwork, and belonged to a shell company agent Narang had quietly controlled for a decade. Nova thought the new bathtub was a theme park and splashed as if the world weren't spinning. After she was asleep, Nora spread files across the table while Cassian reheated takeout with the concentration of a surgeon. The embezzlement pattern isn't dead, she said. It's migrating. Whoever replaced Quentin didn't replace his network. They're re-routing. Show me. She traced it with a chopstick. A pilot marketing initiative in a regional subsidiary with no marketing staff. An ERP cleanup that billed 400 hours to a non-existent consultant. A cluster of microcharges labeled rounding corrections that always landed on Thursdays at 4:59 p.m. They learned from Quentin's mistake. They're slicing thinner, spreading wider, and using contracts we'd never look at because they look boring. You look at boring, Cassian said, a grin tugging despite the day. Her phone vibrated. Leo again. She answered. I'm fine. Not why I'm calling, he whispered. Voices murmured behind him. HR got a background request on you. Not from a recruiter, from a holding company. Obsidian Ridge. Cassian's head snapped up. Put him on speaker. Leo continued. Lower. They asked for everything. GPA, disciplinary, pay. They're preparing a dossier. Obsidian Ridge is trying to buy quorum on the board, Cassian said. Staring into the middle distance, like he could see the chessboard. They bankrolled Quentin. If they can't steal from the inside, they'll own the inside. Nora folded her arms. We publish first. Not just internally. Full report. Redactions we choose. Timelines, vendor shells, everything. Obsidian wants opacity. We feed the streets sunlight. That invites lawsuits, Cassian warned. So does being silent while they threaten my child, Nora said. Pick your battlefield. Agent Narang's text buzzed like an amen. If you go public, coordinate with us. We'll unseal parts of the case simultaneously. The next 48 hours were a hurricane in perfect choreography. Legal vetted. Security hardened. Comms drafted a letter that was not a letter so much as a gauntlet, the report. An index of shell entities and their beneficial owners. A timeline of sabotage attempts including the lobby photo, a note that federal law enforcement was engaged. It went live at 9:01 a.m. on a Tuesday. The market wobbled for exactly 19 minutes. Then, Peregrine's stock climbed. Employees flooded internal channels with relief. Vendors forwarded quiet thanks. A competitor's CFO sent 3 words to Cassian's private inbox. About damn time. Obsidian Ridge responded like a cornered animal. A proxy site blasted out an expose claiming Nora had falsified her credentials. It cited anonymous sources and included a blurry photo of a Georgetown ID that wasn't her face. Nora uploaded 3 PDFs within 10 minutes. Her diploma, her DOT employment verification, an email from Georgetown's registrar, and a selfie with her cap and gown that managed to look defiant and exhausted at once. Her caption was ruthlessly simple. Receipts. The smear died the way lies die when you starve them. That night, after Nova fell asleep drooling on a plush narwhal, Nora found Cassian on the balcony staring at the city the way a pilot studies weather. Say it, she said, leaning on the rail beside him. He didn't pretend not to know what she meant. I was going to propose at the party, he admitted. And then the lobby photo. And Obsidian. And you realized you didn't need a gesture. You needed a partner. He turned. That wry, vulnerable smile she'd learned meant truth was on the way. I keep trying to rescue people, Nora. You keep refusing to be rescued. Good, she said softly. I don't want a rescuer. I want a co-conspirator. Something eased in his shoulders. Deal. Her phone lit again. This time, the number was blocked, and the message was 5 words that tasted like metal. We know who Nova is. Nora's blood iced. What does that even? Another text arrived. A photo. Old and grainy. A hospital crib. A name card tucked into tape. Nova Charlotte Wolfe. Nora's breath left her. She looked up at Cassian, whose face had gone absolutely still, and in the stillness she saw it. Recognition, grief, terror, hope, all fighting. My daughter's middle name, he said hoarsely. Charlotte. We didn't. Nora, I never. Who sent this? She whispered. The phone rang. Unknown. She put it on speaker. A woman's voice, calm as a blade. Hello, Cassian. Hello, Nora. If you want the truth about Nova, come alone to the place where promises were made and broken. You have 1 hour. Who is this? Cassian demanded, but the line clicked dead. Nora stared at the photo. Her mind tried to make room for impossible things and refused, then tried again. That's not possible, she said, the words tasting like salt. Cassian's hands shook for the first time since she'd known him. When Charlotte died, there were rumors, he said slowly, like each syllable cut. A nurse fired for selling patient data. A clerk who vanished. Sloan told me, but I buried it because I couldn't. He swallowed. If someone stole embryos, if... Stop, Nora said, chest heaving. We don't know anything. They woke Nova with the gentlest urgency, dressed her, texted Sloan a single word. Diversion, and left through a stairwell exit like thieves of their own lives. The place where promises were made and broken was obvious when they let themselves think it. The pediatric wing of St. Gabriel's, where the hallways smelled like lemon and ghosts. The security guard recognized Cassian and waved them through with pity that felt like a bruise. An elevator opened on a floor lit like an apology. A woman waited at the end of the corridor, mid-40s, posture crisp, eyes like winter. She did not look like a ghost. She looked like a plan. You're late, she said. Who are you? Nora asked. The woman smiled without heat. I'm the one who made sure you texted the wrong number. Nora's scalp prickled. That was a typo. It was suggested, the woman said. Numbers get reissued. Contact lists get seeded. Grief gets engineered. So do miracles. Cassian's voice lowered to something dangerous. Start talking. I worked in fertility research adjacent to St. Gabriel's, she said. Years ago, a subsidiary of Obsidian Ridge bought our lab. We developed a way to anonymize and store embryonic material past standard windows, to protect it. Obsidian protected it into their portfolio. They stole grief and resold it. Nora clutched Nova closer. What does this have to do with my daughter? The woman's gaze softened for the first time. Everything. Your IVF clinic used Obsidian's secure storage, Ms. Velasquez. Your embryo wasn't destroyed when your ex signed the form. It was repurposed, cross-referenced with donor lines Obsidian controlled, including material from a tragedy documented at St. Gabriel's 9 years ago. She looked at Cassian. Charlotte's twin. The corridor tilted. The hum of the hospital thickened into a roar. Nora felt her knees go liquid. Cassian caught her elbow like a reflex. Twins? He said, voice hollow. We were told. Stillbirth is cruel, the woman said. It also creates paperwork. Obsidian has bought a lot of paperwork. Nora forced air back into her lungs. Prove it. The woman handed over a folder, slim and heavy at once. Chain of custody logs, anonymized IDs, a match analysis that made math into destiny. A final page. A photograph of a tiny heel print beside a hospital code that matched the one on the old crib card. Nova Charlotte Wolfe. Cassian's fingers trembled on the paper. He looked at Nora, and something shattered and formed at the same time in his face. If this is true, he said, each word careful, then Obsidian owns more than board seats. They think they own families. And they're wrong, Nora said, raw and certain. A shadow moved behind the glass of the nursery. Not a ghost, a security guard, and behind him, 2 men who didn't belong in a pediatric wing, speaking into their sleeves. The woman's eyes cut to them and back. You don't have much time. Obsidian didn't expect you to come. They expected you to run, take your proof and burn them with it. Why help us? Cassian asked. Because once, I made a promise in a white coat and broke it, she said, looking past them to a memory. I'd like to keep one, for once. The fire door at the end of the corridor swung open. The men who didn't belong had friends. Nora felt the old fear rise and met it with something newer and hotter. She turned to Cassian. We finish this. He nodded, something like a vow in the motion, and scooped Nova close. The woman stepped aside. Stairs. 3rd door. Park across the alley. Run. They ran.